Hello, welcome to the English Vault. Today we follow Narendra Modi through a story of discipline, public pressure, ambition, and the difficult weight of being watched by millions. This is not a story that asks you to agree with every decision, every policy, or every political argument around him. It is a human biography about how a boy from a modest town entered public life, built a powerful identity, and learned that leadership can bring attention, responsibility, criticism, and consequence at the same time. Chapter 1. A Small Town Beginning. Narendra Modi was born in Vadnagar, a small town in Gujarat in western India. Before his name became connected with national power, campaigns, speeches, and global meetings, it belonged to a child growing up in a family with limited means. The setting was ordinary, and that is part of why the beginning matters. Stories of public figures often become polished after success. The early years become symbols. The simple house, the railway station, the family work, the long days. All of it can be repeated until it sounds almost like legend. But behind any public symbol, there is still a real child learning how the world works. In Modi's early life, discipline was not an abstract value. It was practical. It meant helping. It meant waking early. It meant noticing how people moved through daily struggle without dramatic speeches. In a modest environment, a person can learn two things at once: how little control one may have over circumstances, and how much control one may still have over routine. That combination appears throughout his later image. The idea of self-control, simple habits, and tireless effort became central to the way he presented himself. Whether one admires that image or questions it, the roots are important to understand. It did not come from nowhere. The first part of his journey was not the story of a young man walking directly toward the Prime Minister's office. It was the story of someone absorbing place, family, religion, community, and ambition, then searching for a path that could make those forces larger than his own private life. Chapter 2. The Search for Direction. As a young man, Modi became drawn to ideas of service, discipline, and national identity. He spent time within organizations that valued structure, commitment, and ideological training. For a person looking for purpose, such environments can feel like a map. They offer routines, language, mentors, and a sense that individual effort belongs to something bigger. This part of his life is essential because it shaped the method behind the public figure. Modi did not first rise as a celebrity candidate. He learned organizational work. He learned how meetings function, how messages travel, how volunteers are motivated, and how political energy is built far away from television cameras. That kind of work is rarely glamorous. It means planning, listening, persuading, waiting, and repeating. It means carrying instructions one day and giving them another. It means learning that public outcomes are often built through private systems. The young organizer also learned a lesson that can help explain his later style. Attention follows clarity. A movement needs simple messages. A campaign needs memorable images. A leader needs a story people can repeat. Over time, Modi became skilled at connecting biography, symbols, and political language into one recognizable package. But clarity can have a cost. When a public identity becomes strong, it can make supporters feel certain and critics feel excluded. That tension would follow him for years. His ability to communicate clearly became one of his strengths. It also made the debates around him sharper. Before the national stage, however, there was a state stage. Gujarat would become the place where his administrative image grew, where praise and criticism both became louder, and where a regional leader began turning into a national figure. Chapter 3. Gujarat and the Test of Power. Modi became Chief Minister of Gujarat in 2001. A leadership position at that level is not only a title. It is a daily test of systems, people, emergencies, and public trust. Gujarat was an economically important state, and the responsibilities were large from the beginning. Supporters often point to development, infrastructure, investment, and administrative focus as central parts of his time there. They describe a leader who valued execution, branding, business confidence, and visible results. In that version of the story, Gujarat became a laboratory for a style of governance built around speed, messaging, and measurable growth. Critics tell a different part of the story. They ask hard questions about social harmony, minority safety, political centralization, and accountability, especially around the violence that took place in Gujarat in 2002. A neutral biography cannot pretend these debates do not exist. It also should not flatten them into slogans. The human reality is that leadership during crisis leaves a long shadow. Decisions made in tense moments are studied for years. Public memory does not move in one line. For some people, Modi's Gujarat years became proof of administrative ability. For others, they remain tied to painful questions and unresolved mistrust. This is where the story becomes complicated, and complication is important. Inspirational biography does not mean removing all difficulty. It means looking at how a person moved through pressure, how he built influence, and how public life can carry both achievement and controversy. By the time Modi looked toward national politics, he was no longer just a state leader. He had become a symbol, and symbols travel faster than ordinary resumes. Chapter 4. Building a National Message. A national campaign needs more than experience. It needs a story that can cross regions, languages, classes, and emotions. Modi's 2014 rise was built around a powerful message: development, decisive leadership, personal discipline, and the promise of change. His own biography became part of that message, the image of a man from a modest background, challenging elite politics connected with many people. It suggested possibility. It suggested that a person outside old centers of power could reach the center through organization, stamina, and communication. The campaign style was modern and carefully managed. Large rallies, strong slogans, social media, visual branding, and direct address helped create a sense of momentum. Modi's speeches often used simple contrasts: old versus new, weak versus strong, delay versus action, pessimism versus national confidence. For listeners, that clarity could be energizing. For opponents, it could feel too simple for a complex country. Both reactions mattered. India is vast, diverse, and deeply layered. Any national message that becomes powerful will inspire some people and worry others. What is clear is that Modi understood the emotional side of politics. People do not vote only for policies. They vote for confidence, memory, frustration, aspiration, and identity. He spoke to those forces with unusual discipline. When he became Prime Minister, the story changed again. Campaign promise became government responsibility. A leader who had mastered the art of reaching people now had to face the harder test of delivering under constant national and international attention. Chapter 5. The Weight of the Office. The office of Prime Minister is not a larger stage only. It is a heavier room. Every sentence can move markets, comfort supporters, anger opponents, or travel across the world in minutes. Every crisis asks for speed and judgment. Every success creates expectation. Every mistake becomes part of public argument. Modi's leadership style in national office emphasized visibility and direct communication. He used radio addresses, public events, international visits, and strong symbolic gestures to stay present in the public imagination. To supporters, this created connection and confidence. To critics, it sometimes raised concerns about concentration of power and political image management. A balanced view must hold both. Modern leadership often depends on communication. But communication is not the same as trust for everyone. Some citizens feel included by a strong national voice. Others feel unheard if their concerns do not fit the central message. During his years in office, India experienced major decisions and major debates. Economic reforms, welfare programs, infrastructure pushes, digital governance, foreign policy visibility, social tensions, protests, and questions about institutions and press freedom. Each topic has supporters and critics, evidence and argument, hope and anxiety. For this story, the central lesson is not a simple judgment. It is the reality that leadership at scale multiplies every action. A decision meant to solve one problem can create another. A message meant to unite can be heard differently by different communities. A leader may believe deeply in direction and still face the moral burden of disagreement. That burden is part of power. It is also part of why public life is never as clean as a campaign poster. Chapter 6. Discipline as a Public Language. One of the most consistent features of Modi's public identity is discipline. The early morning routine, the controlled image, the focus on work, the careful staging of public moments, all of these create a language. Before any policy is discussed, the image says, "I am tireless, I am organized, I am ready." This language can be powerful because people often look for steadiness in uncertain times. A leader who appears disciplined can make citizens feel that someone is holding the center. In a fast-changing country, that feeling can matter. But discipline also has limits. A disciplined image can hide fatigue. It can reduce room for admitting uncertainty. It can make compromise look like weakness when compromise may be necessary. It can attract admiration while making honest correction harder. Modi's story, therefore, offers a broader lesson about personal branding. A strong identity helps a person move through noise. It gives supporters something clear to recognize. But the stronger the identity becomes, the more important it is to remain open to complexity. This is true beyond politics. In business, art, family, or ordinary work, people often build an identity to survive. The reliable one, the strong one, the calm one, the ambitious one. Those identities can help, but if they become too rigid, they can trap the person who built them. For Modi, discipline helped carry him from a modest beginning to one of the most visible offices in the world. It also became the standard by which many people judged him. When expectations are built on strength, the public may struggle to accept nuance. Chapter 7. Praise, Criticism, and the Same Spotlight. The same spotlight can warm and burn. Narendra Modi has known both. He has received enormous support from people who see him as a symbol of aspiration, national confidence, development, and personal dedication. He has also faced serious criticism from people concerned about social divisions, democratic norms, policy choices, and the experience of minorities and dissenters. An honest story does not need to choose blindness on either side. It can recognize that millions of people see hope in his rise, and millions of others ask hard questions about the direction of the country under his leadership. In a democracy, that tension is not an accident. It is part of the public record. What makes Modi's journey instructive is the scale of the contrast. Few leaders become so closely connected with the emotional identity of a nation. Supporters do not only support a manager, they often support a story about dignity, pride, and possibility. Critics do not only criticize policies, they often worry about belonging, institutions, and the future character of public life. That means every chapter of his leadership carries more than administrative detail. It carries meaning. A speech is not just a speech, a gesture is not just a gesture, a silence is not just silence. In high office, even absence can be interpreted. For a listener, the important question may be this: what does public success cost when a person becomes larger than ordinary disagreement? Modi's career shows that influence can grow through clarity, discipline, and connection. It also shows that influence brings a responsibility to hear what the strongest message may leave outside. Chapter 8. What the Journey Teaches. Narendra Modi's life, viewed as biography, is a story of movement, from a modest town to organizational work, from state leadership to national power, from personal discipline to global visibility. Whatever one's political opinion, the scale of that movement is remarkable. But the deeper lesson is not simply that ambition can rise. It is that ambition must eventually meet responsibility. A person can build a story. A leader must live with the consequences of that story in other people's lives. His journey reminds us that discipline matters, communication matters, preparation matters, the ability to endure criticism matters. But humility also matters. Listening matters. Complexity matters. A nation is not one audience with one emotion. It is many voices, many memories, many fears, and many hopes sharing the same future. That is why this biography must end with balance. Narendra Modi's story can inspire people who come from ordinary places and want to build extraordinary influence. It can also remind us that influence is never morally weightless. The higher a person rises, the more carefully the human cost of each decision must be considered. For your own life, the takeaway is simple and demanding. Build discipline, but do not let discipline close your ears. Build confidence, but do not let confidence become contempt. Build a strong identity, but leave enough space for truth to enter when truth is uncomfortable. There is also a quieter lesson in the distance between a private person and a public symbol. The private person can change his mind, admit confusion, and step back from a mistake. The public symbol has a harder time doing that because supporters may expect certainty and opponents may punish hesitation. That pressure can make any leader defensive. It can also remind every observer to keep human beings human, even when they hold great power. So the story leaves us with two responsibilities. The first belongs to leaders. Power should make listening deeper, not smaller. The second belongs to citizens and viewers. Admiration should not cancel judgment, and criticism should not cancel fairness. A mature mind can hold achievement and concern in the same frame. If this story made you think, keep one line with you. The journey to power is never only about reaching the room. It is about what you do to the room once you are inside. Keep listening, keep thinking, and come back to the English Vault for the next story.